Okay, so I'm gonna start doing Christian apologetics. I have a speech disorder which makes my voice sound kind of weird and distorted, so I apologize for that. I'm trying to get it fixed over time. It might get fixed, I'm not sure, but Nateislame Response religion. Nate is a very nice man. I've talked to him a few times. I mean, not in person, just I've tweeted some stuff and I asked him some things in his tweet replies and he's answered them a few times. We've first started that on like May 27th. I remember exactly it was the birthday of 100th birthday of Christopher Lee. This is a tangent, and I'm just gonna go to the actual part of the video.
Over here. Nateislame, do you believe in God? No. But why not? Well, science and logic and stuff. What? Do you hate God? Do you hate Christians?
Some atheists do hate Christians and God, and Nate's not one of them. Nate believes there is no God, but some atheists who believe there is no God also hate God for some reason. Typically the more atheist ones, but most atheists cancel with Christmas. This is just another going on too long from my side. I'm sorry.
I am not ignorant to religion. I know a thing or two about Christianity, Mormonism, Buddhism, Islam, and a few others. The one that I know the most about is Christianity, since I was born and raised Nazarene, and I have some...
I agree. You don't need works. The salvation is by faith. But there is something I don't agree with, like that the Bible is written by God and inspired, and both testaments are largely equal. I also like to say that Mormonism is Christianity. I think South Park can be blamed for that misconception.
That's a practice I think more people should do more often. Check my Twitter. As much as I hate Donald Trump, I still follow the dude so I can stay updated. I was watching channels like Mr. Repsion, The Amazing Atheist, Jacqueline Glenn, and Dark Matter 2525. I had this idea that if religion was the legit deal, it'd be able to hold up to criticism. Well, suffice to say in my eyes, it didn't really hold up. Suddenly,
I watched these videos too, several of them. And my face didn't die, although I can see it did weaken. But it didn't go away, it still exists. I'm not saying Nate is weak-willed, because it takes a lot of courage to say you're atheist in a country like America. But I'm just saying my face did survive, and I think I'm older than he was when he became atheist. And I'm still Christian.
a hardcore edgelord. All religious people are blind.
So this is when Nathan became an anti-theist, which he was for a time. And a thing I'm going to clear out is that atheists, I treat them based on how they treat religious people. Like, there's a picture up there of the Funk Day Monster. That's Richard Dawkins. He's a raging anti-theist. If I could talk to him, I would probably wouldn't be very nice to him. But for someone like Nathan, who does respect my religion, I'd probably give him the time of day and have a long, meaningful talk with him.
Fools! Christians are ruining society and they should be exiled.
Yeah, some Christians can do that. Not giving any names, so...
Anyone who believes in a deity is inferior to my grand 15-year-old atheist brain. Agnostics are just cowards who can't take the plunge into nihilism. Fight Club and Tyler Durden, hail Satan because nothing else matters. I was the absolute worst kind of atheist, and I was super obnoxious back in the day. I felt like I was climbing out of something that nobody else in my family was able to leave, and it made me feel smarter. It made me feel like I knew something that they didn't, which led to like this crazy superiority complex. As a result, I was a jerk.
That's what many atheists have. Like, just go to Sam Harris or Richard Dawkins and you can see that on full display.
And to be honest, I was a better person when I was Christian. While I was a piece of trash at the time, my mind still hasn't changed on the inherent fallacies and the...
So Nate was being an anti-theist, just a normal atheist. There's nothing much atheists go through. They start off as anti-theist, you hate that religion once it ended. Over time become just more moderate. I'm just going to call that old atheism, because anti-theism is something called new atheism, and the opposite of old is, of new is old, so old atheism.
Concept of God. Logically, a lot of it just doesn't make sense to me. Scientifically, it's a little crazy and it doesn't hold a lot of weight. Let me go into...
But this is maybe the good part. Scientifically, you have to apply movo. Even Voltaire, a vocal critic of Christianity, agreed that there needed to be a God, and said if anyone who didn't believe in there one had no common sense.
Detail on where I'm coming from. So this is important for me to once again remind you that I can't change your mind unless you agree with me. Are you still... Establish a concept, okay? Most religious people agree that God is all-powerful, but he's also all good. Are we good? Can we all agree on that?
Yes, that is true.
Sweet. So if God is all-powerful, that means that he's low-key responsible for everything.
Free will.
Including evil, including death, including cancer and rape and the Holocaust and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Nothing
That really doesn't belong in there, Nathan.
gets past an
That probably didn't listen to put myself as equal to him. That's no way true. He's vastly better than me, more famous, and deserves to be more famous. In all ways, I'm just some 16-year-old who makes 5-second long videos by putting together copyrighted songs and copyrighted clips. He actually makes videos, so I'll collect to him.
being without them putting it there. And if something happens that they didn't control 100%, they're not omnipotent. Okay.
That's not what omnipotent is. Omnipotence means that you know everything that will happen and see everything that will happen. My view is that God knows what will happen, he sees what will happen, but since forcing people to do things isn't true free will, that isn't true good. True good is doing what no one doing what is right out of your own free will, not out of being forced.
Let me use the example of Super Mario Maker. You can do pretty much anything in that game, but you can't give Mario a gun, and you can't have him shoot Goombas in the head and scoop out their eyeballs and their mushy skulls. That's because the programmers didn't allow that possibility to be included. Just as humans have free will, its only limits are what God could allow us to do. Same with Mario, where you can do pretty much whatever you want to a certain extent as much as the programmers allow. So now we're kind of stuck with the gesture that God is literally responsible for everything evil and bad with the universe and the world, since he is omnipotent. Thus, he's not completely good or wholesome. That's kind of a conundrum, and it goes like...
Okay, so that's a very flawed logic in my opinion. If that means that there are some things God didn't allow to happen, which means he can't... That isn't a comparison. Like in Mario, you can still die. I think. I haven't played Super Mario Maker, but I'm assuming you still die if you get beaten. So, this isn't a case of not including bad things at all. It's not including every possible bad thing.
It's a lot of what these religions are saying. That's not making a lot of sense, and it provides a shaky foundation for the rest of their teachings and implications about creation and the meaning of life. If they can't even get their protagonist to be good, God is not responsible for our actions. We have free will and the right to make our own decisions. Yeah, okay. I hear that rebuttal a lot, and it frustrates me when people apply human characteristics to God when it's convenient, but they pull the only God can understand God card when they're about to lose an argument. God's
Okay, so yes. God had created humans in his image. Well, he's above humans. We can emotions aren't just a human thing. Everyone has emotions, even animals. But the nature of God is unique to him.
seem to go out of their way to demonstrate their powers to humans in crazy ways in stories, but they can never be bothered to explain tangibly what their moral stances and reasoning are.
10 Commandments, 7 Deadly Sins, the 5 Pillars of Islam. I'm probably forgetting something, but whatever they have in Buddhism. And probably many others. The 5 Principles of Confucius, and many more.
It just kind of seems like lazy writing to me than the works of an actual god, you know? Or maybe a corrupt politician of it.
This argument just pisses me off, kind of. Christianity and all those religions, when they started, they had no politicians. Buddha was a prince who left behind everything. No one ever listened to him until like near the end of his life. Jesus was literally killed, and Muhammad was one of the rare examples of a prophet who did see six. And Muhammad only ever, in his lifetime, converted the poor regions of Arabia to his face. So no, they weren't powerful, must be politicians.
And it's all up in air. Plus, the gesture that good and evil must coexist is kind of dumb to me. Do you know who would technically be responsible for that rule? God. Nothing gets past him. If he's all-powerful, he can totally make a concept of good without baby murder and AIDS messing everything up. Plus...
Okay, so... But that wouldn't be true free will.
Why is free will inherently the only way that God can make meaning out of his creations?
What does that say?
Since he's God and stuff, it's messing everything up. Plus, why is free will inherently the only way that God can make meaning out of his creations? Since his creations.
Okay, but that introduces things that... Okay, that makes sense, but... Like I said with the Mario game, we don't know what God prevented us from being able to do. He could have prevented us from doing several atrocities that we wouldn't even know about. They're like the Sims that know what rape is. We don't know what... Some things God could have allowed us to do out.
Since he's God and stuff, can't he just push a button and take away our free will and still manage to squeeze meaning out of everything? If God's omnipotent...
There'd be no way to show you're good or evil then.
Why can't he just snap his fingers and make everything good, period? Okay, Nate, you're not making a
God is God, not Thanos.
lot of sense right now. You know what? You're right. None of this makes any sense because the concept of omnipotence is so
You know, this reminds me of what C.S. Lewis said. Atheists complain that religion is too complicated. Atheists complain that religion is too What did he say again? I think he said something like... C.S. Lewis said that atheists demand a complex answer, but when you give it to them, they say, this is too complex. And they want something simple, though. They give them the simple answer, they say they want something complex. And it goes over and over. This is what Nate is showing. C.S. Lewis was an ex-atheist. I think he's fit to speak on that area.
insane and crazy to begin with. When you try to make omnipotence fit into a moral rule set, it significantly makes less and less sense the more...
Omnipotence is like an observer. You wouldn't call an observer of a soccer game evil because your favorite team loses while he's watching the game. That would be ridiculous.